The Miami Heat were shorthanded in their second preseason game against the Brooklyn Nets, taking on the Nets. Would Bam Adebayo continue to be aggressive? Could Miami's bench step up? We break down the game, who stood out, and what important takeaways came from the game here on today's Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube live with us right now after this Brooklyn Nets preseason game, Odyssey, or wherever you're getting your podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. The Heat played their second game of the preseason, and while they got Jimmy Butler back, they were without Tyler Herro, Victor Oladipo, Caleb Martin, Omer Yurtseven, Dwayne Dedmon, and Gabe Vincent. None of those players are dealing with serious injuries, some of them getting rest in the instance of Tyler Herro, banged knees, of course, in that Minnesota preseason opener. And so they're just giving him a night off. But all of those absences gave Nikola Jovic an opportunity to play extended minutes. And after playing just 6 minutes in the opener earlier this week, Jovic logged 16 minutes, scored 10 points on 4 of 7 shooting, 10 of 4 from 3. 2 of 4 from 3, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. An encouraging performance by the first-round pick, David.
I am all aboard the Jovic train here. We've got to come up with a nickname for that guy fast because I feel like he's going to be a part of this rotation by the end of the season. I am. Look, I don't want to necessarily curb my enthusiasm about this because he looks so much more polished. It seems like there was like a year of development in between Minnesota and tonight's game because he just looked like a completely different player. Taking on the star-studded Brooklyn Nets, right? At Brooklyn. And he didn't seem to give a damn who was out on the floor, whether it was Kevin Durant or anybody else, making sharp passes, looking comfortable from 3. Shout out to Rob Porter, shooting coach that's been working with Jovic and making sure that he gets that stroke down because he looked comfortable from long range, making all sorts of plays around the basket, incredible passing, solid defense too. Like it didn't seem like he was getting bullied or shoved out of position or anything like that. Had active hands, as most of the Heat team did, as they were forcing like 20 turnovers at least. They just looked incredible. And in Jovic in particular, as a rookie, getting significant minutes, really, really sharp play out there. I'm totally encouraged by this. I see the vision now of why he was the first round selection. I know we were both kind of sort of skeptical because we really didn't know much about him. Nobody really did. Nobody really expected him to be an early first round pick. And yet the Heat saw something in him and we saw a total package from him tonight.
Well, as the broadcast noted, and I didn't know this, but he was voted like most talented international player not in the NBA on last year's NBA survey. Now, of course, or NBA GM survey. And now, of course, that designation belongs to Victor Wembanyama, who's amazing. But Jovic had that title just a year ago. And so he was on the radar of NBA general managers and clearly was apparently on the radar of the Miami Heat. I liked the pick initially. I don't know that just because I like the long-term upside. I don't know that Jovic is ready to contribute right away. But I do love his skill set. I love his feel for the game. I love everything that we saw from him tonight. What you want to see in the preseason, and by the way, when he does get minutes here and there during the regular season, is you just want to see those flashes. You want to see the capability there. You want to see the skill level, which is why he was drafted in the first place where he was. He's not shy to take threes. As you pointed out, he's got that stroke. It looks really good. He's happy to step back into a 3-pointer, as we saw back in even summer league and in that preseason opener against the Timberwolves. And then tonight, it felt like he was really putting it together. There were some glitches here and there, as to be expected, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But everything that we're saying, I think you and I are pretty good at this stuff in terms of, okay, we think this player could play at the NBA level and things like that. We're not scouts. We're not professionals at this. But Doris Burke, whose analysis I value maybe more than anybody else who does that job, had very strong words for Nikola Jovic, saying this guy has great feel for the game and she loves Jovic. And now that Doris Burke is saying it, I'm all in. If she sees it, then I'm seeing it too. And I feel better about my own analysis because like I said, I love the pick when it happened and I love it even more now.
I've got to say, Breen was actually incorrect. It was Nikola Mirotic as the best international player who wasn't on an NBA roster. So
yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, a guy who had been in the NBA. So I guess he's just confusing all the Nicolas out there. Shame on you, Mike Breen, Hall of Fame broadcaster. But yes,
you guys heard of this Nikola Jovic guy? He's supposed to be pretty good.
but we saw it, right? Like there was that nice. I think they showed a highlight of him making a nice inside pass with a kind of look away there, a no look pass to the interior. Fantastic read. Like he said that when he talked to us at media day, that he loved the passing aspect, that's probably his greatest strength, and he needed to work on speed, conditioning, strength, being able to adjust to the overall strengths of the NBA game. He looked pretty damn comfortable out there tonight, and I'm glad that you and Doris brought up the touch, because he just did seem like very comfortable. There was one play there where he short armed a layup at the rim there. He just kind of softly put it up there. I know he was just trying to tap it in there, and it fell short, even though he was like 4 feet away. So yes, that might be one of the glitches, but overall, they're just the shooting confidence. He's continuing to do the work. You see him buying in to what the Heat coaches have been telling him, like whether it's work with Malik Allen or Rob Fodor or anybody else, he seems to be getting it down.
Let's stay on the passing there, because he threw some really quick trigger, like
he sees the floor really well.
Sees the floor so well,
yeah.
And he's quick to make those decisions too. And I'm telling you, that is such an underrated skill in the NBA, is that ability to process what it is that you're seeing on the floor and then react to it in the right way. Now, in both preseason games, he had some turnovers and things like that. That's to be expected. The game is going to move faster than you're comfortable with. And he talked to us about this on media day. One of the number one things he's adjusting to is the fact that the speed of the game is so fast, and it requires a higher level of processing speed on his end. But he's got a natural feel for it. He's got a natural ability to process information and to see the court and make the right read. That to me is so important, because I'll go back to when I was covering the Warriors, and you've got like these young guys that the Warriors were trying to fit into that fast paced Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green stuff. And it was very clear, like right away, who had it and who didn't. And those players who didn't have it didn't stick around, and they weren't on the championship team this last year. And I got to kind of learn about that up close and in person. And now I'm seeing that start to play out for Miami too, where Miami and Golden State are the two teams that probably run this most similar kind of offenses. Like there's so much off-ball movement and cutting and off-ball screening, more than any other team in the league. Those two teams do, and so Miami is valuing those things as well. And you can see why it is that they drafted Nikola Jovic, because they probably saw something like that.
All right, what you brought up earlier, why can't you see him taking a part of the rotation? I mean, I don't. You don't think he's ready?
No, he's just not big enough. He's 19. He's just really small, and like it was cool to do it against Brooklyn backups, but I just don't really.
But isn't that where he'd be getting the minutes anyway? Like coming off the bench, like he's part of that second unit. I feel like Spo is almost doing a disservice by not playing him. Like I love Haywood Highsmith and the energy he brings. Darius Days, we really enjoyed talking to him at media day. He's got that same Heat culture mentality. Sure. Jamal Cain stood up today, and we'll talk about him later on the show. But considering the potential of Jovic, don't you think it behooves them to kind of play him more often so that he can continue to get more comfortable and grow in that aspect?
They're going to give him minutes. I'm not saying that they're not going to give him minutes. And just, I don't think he'll be an immediate contributor. And what I mean by that is he's not going to impact winning in any meaningful way. He's not going to be getting a starting nod for any real reason other than injury, perhaps during the regular season. And that's okay. Again, he's 19. He picked up 4 fouls in 16 minutes. When I'm talking about the pitches, that's one of them. He still sets awkward screen angles. He really needs to work on that. There's times where he looks lost.
Well, he's a ball handler. You saw him bringing the ball up. He's never set screens before.
He wants to be a point guard. Yeah. He wants to be a point guard, and I get it, but he's not. He's not, and he's not gonna be. Like, I love that he's got the skill set and he can incorporate into his game, but he's not going to be the lead ball handler on a good team ever in his career. He's going to be more of a secondary, tertiary, fourth kind of ball handler, a guy who can be valuable in that way, but he's going to have to play with a real point guard in the NBA. So yeah, I'm not knocking him. Like, he's never played this position before. He's going to have to learn it. And that's why I think he's just, I don't think we could start heaping expectations on him anytime soon. He'll get minutes because, like you said, he has to grow. It's going to come in the NBA. He might see some time in the G League. We'll see but
you want to hear a crazy comparison? You want to hear a crazy comparison? Lamar Odom, point forward, Lamar Odom. Is that insane?
I like the comparison. He's got to be rangy defensively in that way to live up to it, but that would be a nice like outcome, I think, for his career.
We'll see how it all pans out. But we'll talk about some of the other players that stood out from tonight's game, whether or not it really matters, considering it's just the second preseason game, and whose stock is up and whose stock is down. We'll get to that in our last segment. Before we do that, just a reminder that BetOnline.net is still your number one source for football betting information this season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis in every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sport wagering information with live betting and up-to-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, boxing, golf, etc., including the NBA. Head to BetOnline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview starting on October 10th, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey all combining into one ultimate NBA preview starting October 10th. Search for the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. To help Heat fans get ready for the upcoming season, Official League, the fastest growing sports merch company, is launching an exclusive limited edition hat inspired by a Heat star, Bam Adebayo, and designed by viral artist NBA Paint. Only 100 will be available of each hat for purchase at officialleague.com. And the new silhouette features a funny food character inspired by each player. Bam Adebayo is Ham Adebayo. And here's even better news. We will be giving away a free hat to one of you. To enter for a chance to win a free Official League Ham Adebayo hat, all you have to do is leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and then email a screenshot of your new review to lockedonheat@gmail.com. Here's the catch. You only have until Bam Adebayo attempts at least 18 shots in a game. Once he does that, we're going to close entries. So get on it now. Email a screenshot of your new 5-star rating or review to lockedonheat@gmail.com to win your free Official League Bam Adebayo hat. We're playing Does It Matter? And we're going to start right there with Bam Adebayo. Does it matter that Bam Adebayo was aggressive for the second game in a row, David?
Absolutely. I think this is exactly what we want to see from him. Moving forward. He talked about it early at media day. He's talked about it during training camp. He's talked about it ad nauseum. We've heard this from him before, and the frustration has always been he's mentioned it. He said, "I know I need to be aggressive on nights where he struggles with a shot or he's not looking to take that shot," and then he goes back to the same, process of not exactly looking up. But the difference that I'm seeing with him is not holding on to the ball. It's not that he's not being more aggressive, which he clearly is, but he's also just making quicker decisions. And he's like he said in media day, remember, I'm going to see orange out there like Tyler. I'm just going to let it fly. And that's exactly what he's doing. He gets the ball in his hands. He says, you know what? I've got a shot. I'll take it. He was aggressive in driving to the hoop, bullied the hell out of Ben Simmons, made him look like a 50-pound weakling out there, and completely pushed him out of the way for a nice floater in the lane. And when he saw mismatches, not shaking him off, not looking away or anything like that, calling for the ball multiple times, pitched it back out to Lowry for a reset, went to work, eventually had to pass it out because he saw a wide open three, and unfortunately that's just the Heat way. But overall, continued aggression from Bam. Yes, it matters that this is exactly what we want to see, and hopefully this is the trend moving forward.
I like the shot selection a little bit more tonight than we saw against Minnesota too. A little bit less of that herky-jerky, let me kind of settle into an 18-footer. I think it helped early that he had Jimmy Butler on the floor, as well as Kyle Lowry, obviously having more playmakers to do stuff with the ball, and he isn't forced to kind of take those low-quality looks that he was forced to take against Minnesota. So I like those looks better, and I love that he attempted a three-pointer tonight. He missed it. Yes. I don't care. I love that he attempted it.
Rimmed out, but then on the next possession, took one of those 18-footers, nailed it, nothing but nylon. It was fantastic.
Does it matter that Victor Oladipo has yet to play in the preseason, David?
No, I don't think it does. I know a lot of Heat fans are curious to see where he fits in the rotation, where he gets minutes. They're going to make time for Oladipo just because he's a veteran. That's who Spoelstra is. We know eventually he's going to get out there. Training camp is good to get that kind of comfortable rhythm down. And from everything we've heard, it's been reported, it's been confirmed by the team. He's not hurt. He's just getting rest. He's putting in the work. He's put in the work during training camp. He's continuing to work with the team. He traveled with the team. This isn't any kind of a concern. They just don't want to push him. Why? Because they expect a long season and they expect Victor to be a part of it moving forward. So I'm not concerned. I think once he gets out there, he'll find his place in the rotation. He knows how to fit alongside most of this roster because he played with them last year. And even with the new guys, I'm sure he'll find his comfort rhythm with there as well. So I am not concerned about it. I don't think it matters. Do you?
No, I'm not concerned about it. And I asked Eric Spoelstra about Victor Oladipo during practice earlier this week, and he's convinced that Victor Oladipo will play at some point in the preseason. So it's not as if Victor Oladipo is going to sit out the entire preseason. I'm not concerned about it. The Heat play Friday night, right? So we could see him play as early as Friday night. We'll see. It does sound like Tyler Herro, while we're here, will also be held out of the Friday night game as he's sort of just still recovering from bumping knees, but that does not seem to be long-term concerned either. Does it matter that Haywood Highsmith, getting the start at power forward in place of Caleb Martin, who also took an off night, missed all 4 of his three-pointers and got into foul trouble early in the game?
It does matter for him more than anything else. I think if you ask Eric Spoelstra, as we've heard him say about a number of players, that shot's there, take it. That's what he wants them to do. He's out there because he brings energy, because he can space the floor. And that energy was still there. He was active on defense, trying to guard Kevin Durant to the best of his ability. It's Kevin Durant, so you're going to be limited no matter what you do. But he was making plays, rebounding the ball well. He still finished with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. We didn't know that he was that kind of a playmaker, but he looked quick out there. He was bringing the ball up court, a multifaceted game. He's not just a burly power forward, even though he does have the size and the strength for it. The shot selection was fine. He missed all 4 of his three-pointer attempts. Again, Spo wouldn't have a problem with it. Neither do we. I think from Haywood's perspective, you just don't want him to lack confidence moving forward because you want him to continue to take those shots. So hopefully he gets off the schneid next game. But for now, I'm not concerned about it. I don't think it's a concern for the Heat either.
This was, how many minutes did Haywood play tonight? 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Haywood Highsmith so far has been a more of a theoretical kind of contributor. We haven't really seen him play extended minutes in a starting role or in any really important.
This was it. Yeah, this is the closest we've seen.
And it was preseason, so you also don't want to draw too many conclusions from it. And like you said, it was the first time, so you really don't want to draw too many conclusions from it. However, Haywood Highsmith was one of the standouts in training camp. They loved him. And he's on this team for a reason. And you keep hearing when you talk to people around the Heat in that organization, this is a guy who is a dark horse to be a rotation player for us this year. Maybe this year's Max Strus, this year's Caleb Martin, something like that.
Martin. I like the comparison to Martin. Yeah,
we need to see it actually on the court, and it's going to take a while for him to put it together. And I liked his defense against Kevin Durant really early, but it's tough not only to guard Kevin Durant, obviously, and so that might not have been the best benchmark to make an evaluation, but it's tough to guard elite guys closely without fouling, and that seems to be an issue for him right now. If he's going to he picked up 4 fouls in his first stint and had to be pulled out early, and then the rotation kind of went sideways after that. That's not going to work, right? We've seen Spo bench guys because of foul problems. So if this is going to be an issue for him, he's got great long arms. The problem is he can't get those hands stuck in the cookie jar, and so that's the problem. As far as the 3-point shooting is concerned, that's going to be how he also gets time. At the end of the day, Haywood Highsmith needs to be able to defend multiple positions and make threes. And we haven't seen him do any of those things at an NBA level. They'll tell you that they believe that he can do it. I'm not saying he can't do it, but he also can't go 0 for 4 from 3-point range because nobody knows who he is in the NBA. And you really got to earn that respect as a shooter in order to become a floor spacer, right? And so it's something that I'm monitoring. I was monitoring it before this game. I still remain really high on Haywood Smith. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying it does matter because every time Haywood Highsmith takes the court right now, it matters for better or for worse.
Right. I like the high energy from him though. Like that continues to be a positive in his favor.
And he really does have long arms, and that makes me believe that he could play power forward. He's got a good frame. Like he's got the size for it. Yeah. Duncan Robinson had a bounce back game, big time for the Miami Heat. We're going to talk about that next in Stock Up or Stock Down. This is Locked On Heat.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. We love getting your feedback. We want to hear from you. You can always reach out to us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com. We are looking at the players whose stock is up or down based on tonight's second preseason game, a big win over the Brooklyn Nets. And we'll start off, as you mentioned before the break, on Duncan Robinson. Had a phenomenal night, I think. He was really solid after struggling in the first game, 0 for 6 from three-point range. Wound up having a plus 22 out on the floor in 22 minutes, 4 of 10 from the field, 2 of 6 from three-point range, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 12 points on the night. Great stat line for Duncan. Is his stock up or down?
Duncan Robinson's stock is up. I mean, you just laid it all out. He looked so confident taking that three. And by the way, he looked really confident taking it against Minnesota. It just didn't go in. That was such a huge thing for Duncan Robinson because we saw early last season when that shot was not falling, he got in his head and it kind of turned into this long shooting slump and he ends up out of the rotation. It affects everything about his play because he is a specialist. And when that shot is not going in from three-point range, he's not really bringing a whole lot else to the table. Tonight, he came out, green light, fast trigger, and started making early three-pointers that opened up the floor for the Heat. And I thought his three-pointers really kind of got the Heat going offensively early in the game and is a big reason why, by the way, Miami won this preseason game 109-80. I also love what he's doing off the dribble.
Yes.
I love that he's attacking closeouts. And that to me is the biggest thing. If that three-point shot is not going to go in, because it's not going to go in every night, David. It's not. It's just not the way it works. Can you incorporate an off-the-dribble game? Can you attack those closeouts? Because the one thing about Duncan Robinson that is still true is that defenses are still scared of him coming off of screens and still respect him and still close out on him. And he's been working really hard, and that much has been evident through two preseason games on attacking those closeouts. It's a little wonky after he dribbles more than twice, but I like that he's getting there. And tonight, he actually even got to the foul line once and made both of those free throws. And so he's going to be able to, and he's a great shooter, so he's going to make 90% of his free throws. I love it. I love what we're seeing from him early. I think his head is in the right place. I think he's got
Stock
the right
up.
prioritized. Stock is way up. Yeah.
2 things to add to that. One, at one possession, even igniting a fast break off the rebound and pushing the ball forward like a point guard, and was able to get to the rim. I don't think we ever have seen Duncan do that. So it's been a concerted effort from him. And I'm not sure if it's just something he took on his own or if it's just coaching from the coaches themselves telling him, you know what, you've got to be more active and putting the ball down. But there is absolutely an effort of him trying to get to the rim. And that's fantastic.
The Jovic lob, right, that he threw. A big part of that was Duncan Robinson setting a pin down screen in the paint. And that went overlooked by the broadcast and I think by most people that were watching the game. But he's doing that too, right? He's screening. He's using his body. He's still the best on the team at moving off the ball, and that includes screening. He's always been a really underrated screener. So I love what we're seeing from him from a confidence standpoint in the preseason so far.
Yeah, I also just want to add, to that section of Heat Twitter that's been very vocal about trashing Duncan. I don't know why you follow the team. I know you don't want to tell anybody how to be a fan or anything like that, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know why you signed up to watch a team in their first preseason game because you didn't even see his performance tonight. And just after one preseason game, you're already going in on the trade Duncan or Duncan's useless or get rid of Duncan or screw Duncan. It's like I don't understand. I don't see why that's part of fandom at any point in time. But anyway, let's move on with another player whose stock is up. I think that would be Jamal Cain, incendiary tonight, finishing the night 5 of 10 from the floor. I'm sorry, 6 of 10 from the floor. 1 of 1 from three-point range, 11 rebounds. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
5 steals, 15 points. What a stat line from Jamal Cain. I don't think I even expect him to get any kind of significant minutes, but here we are in the second preseason game doing it against, Kevin Durant, guarding him at times, playing good defense, getting his hand caught in the cookie jar, as you said, but you know what? What are you going to do? It's KD. Yeah. It's still a fantastic night from him. Stock up or down?
Stock's way up. 6 offensive rebounds, 11 of his rebounds, 6 of them were offensive rebounds. The 5 steals seems like a typo, but that's right. That's what happened. Yeah. I like Jamal Cain. I think the Heat like Jamal Cain. 6'7", 6'9.5" wingspan. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school in 2016. This is a guy who has a lot of talent. He was recruited by Florida State, Michigan, like some big Georgia, like some actual programs. Ended up going to Marquette and then transferring, I believe. And then it ended up going undrafted. But there's talent here. He's really raw. He's going to have to get coached up. But clearly, he's got the athleticism to hang in the NBA. Yeah. I think that much we've learned. And they really like him in training camp. And the thing is that he's on a training camp deal, right? This guy is not on the regular roster. And so the Heat will likely try to stash him in Sioux Falls. But man, if he keeps playing like this, somebody's going to snatch him up, right? Yep. Because the way that this works is he's a free agent. He's an NBA free agent, even though he has a G League team. Any team could come out and sign him right now if they wanted to.
Yeah, and after a performance like this, I'm sure he's going to pop up on some radars around the league. We'll see how that plays out.
Don't play him again. Do not play him again in the preseason. Don't do it.
I don't think it works that way. I think they're just going to continue to play him. We'll see how it pans out. But anyway, another player who stood out from tonight in 24 minutes of play, 15 points, 4 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 5 from three-point range, 7 free throw attempts, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. You want to know it by mentioning that stat line, but I'm talking about Heat fans' number 1 point guard, that's Kyle Lowry. Is his stock up or down, Wes?
I'll be quick with this one. The stock's up. He looks good. He was taking contact. He was finishing through contact. He was getting lift on a couple of his jumpers, draining three-pointers smoothly. Stock's up. He looks great.
What was he saying to Kevin Durant?
That's a great question. Hey, man, we'll keep an eye on you. If this goes south for you guys, you always have a place in Miami.
Yeah. You want me to throw a punch at Steve Nash in order to get you booted off the team or something like that? You just let me know and we'll make it happen. I would have paid great money in order to hear what that conversation was all about, because clearly they're friendly with one another, and then covering up their mouths, a veteran move right there. Thank you so much to everybody who made Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube, Odyssey, or wherever you get podcasts. But make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy NBA. I don't have the read in front of me.
Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining me, David.
Hey, thanks so much, Wes.